grants. Okay.
Sorry, I forgot to mention that part.
All right, that's good. And also one of the things that I want to talk about today, because I think we have a lot of artists that are listening in, and so primarily I work with organizations, but I also have the Arts on Tour roster for Arkansas artists, and so I want to focus on that. And I want to talk about the grants sort of from the artist's perspective, which is a little bit backwards, but we will talk about that a little bit. And then I'll turn it over to Matt, and Matt's going to talk about arts and education. Do you want to introduce yourself, Matt?
Yes, hi, I'm Matt Boyce. Like Scarlett said, I am new to the Arkansas Arts Council. I've been here for 3 months now, and I am in charge of all the arts and education grants. I'm not going to get into all that now, but there are several different arts and education grants that we offer through the Arts Council. And I'm also going to offer my insight from the artist's perspective and from starting out from basically nothing, not being from Arkansas, being an artist and then starting a nonprofit and kind of diving into just getting your foot in the door with the Arts Council and all the grants that are offered. So I'll get into more detail about that later, but especially if you're starting out, hopefully I can give you some direction and some knowledge in becoming more successful and just where to go. So, all right, Jess.
All right. Let me see if I can pull this up here. I'm going to try to share a PowerPoint while I'm talking. Okay, is that working? Good, I hope so.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was sort of talking about the Arkansas Arts Council, how we're really addressing artists primarily today. And so this is you will see our logos, and this is from one of the slides from our webpage, new webpage. But I thought I would give you a little history about the Arts Council first, if this is going to. In 1965, President Johnson signed the National Foundation for the Arts and Humanities Act that established the National Endowment. And so in order for the National Endowment to give money to all the individual states, we formed in '66 the Arkansas Arts Council. And it was to allow Arkansas to be able to receive funds from the federal grants. And from the very beginning, we've been giving grants for arts and education, residencies and programs, as well as general operating money. So in '71, the Arkansas legislature gave independent status to the Arts Council with an executive director and a 17-member advisory council that's appointed by the governor. You will see the list of the current council members from the various parts of the state. So you may recognize some of the people from your different areas. And these are the people that are sort of your representatives in your areas of the state to us. And so we try to have a good liaison with all the different parts of the state. So then in '75, the department was created as the Arkansas Natural and Cultural Heritage to house 8 state agencies. This is 7 beyond the Arts Council, and they were grouped in sort of heritage resources and museums. And this went on for several years. And then in 2019, the state government decided to combine departments into larger departments. And so now we have the Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism, and the Arts Council is one of the divisions within that. So once we're still part of the Arkansas Heritage thing, and the easiest way to get to the Arts Council website probably is to go to the Arkansas Heritage website first. And this is what you will pull up. This where I pulled up the music thing, but there's a sliding series of different agency photos that are really lovely. And so to get to the Arts Council, there's logos down at the bottom, and this is the one for the Arts Council. So if you click on that, it's going to pull up this page, which tells you about the Arkansas Arts Council with some of the programs, and it's showing that we're shifting the focus really to services for artists. We're helping artists providing services as well as organizations, but there's the new emphasis, particularly on artists. And so if you visit the site, there was a logo on the other page and it says visit the site. So that will pull up this for the Arkansas Arts Council. And you'll see various things here. There's a toolbar over the right that talks about us and some various things, as well as these over here, these for grants and arts on tour and arts and education. So on the left first, for the programs, we have such things as our conference, the workshops like we're experiencing at the moment, Living Treasure Award, Governor's Arts Awards, these kinds of things. We also have registry and rosters. And so I'm going to talk about the Arts on Tour roster. Matt's going to talk about the Arts and Education roster, and Scarlett's going to talk about the Artist Registry, I suspect, as well as the fellowships, which are currently receiving applications for things that are coming up.
Yes,
So
we're
if
going to
you
talk
want
mostly
to-
about the grants aspect, though. The
Yeah,
Artist
yeah.
Registry has no real grants attached
It's not. Yeah, it's just a
Mhm.
registry. It's just a listing of Arkansas artists. Yes. Thank you for clarifying that. And so if we go to click on the link, actually the previous link that said Arts on Tour there with the Bill the ukulele guy. It talks about how artists in Arkansas can get listed on the roster. And I want to talk about this first because it's sort of a two-pronged kind of program here going on. We have the Arkansas Arts Roster, which is online, and it features artists that have been selected to be on the roster. So if you're an Arkansas artist and you think you may want to get onto the roster, we have an application deadline every year that ends in October. And we have a panel review in November that selects artists for the next year's roster. To be eligible, you have to maintain a residency in Arkansas, or you must have at least an Arkansas-based contact, and you must have presented, to apply, you must have presented at least 2 performances someplace in Arkansas beyond your home. So you click on this to download the application. It's going to pull up. This is the one we used last year, which is a little old, and I think we're going to probably recreate it as an online application this next year. But these are the kinds of things that we would need to know. We would basic information, and we need a description of what it is that you would want listed on the roster, the kinds of programs you would want to do, and as well as your artist fee, how much you would charge, and additional costs, like if the presenter who was hiring you would need to rent a sound system or specific lights or something like that. So this sort of all goes up here. This would be part of your sort of a basic tech writer to let us know the expenses that would be involved with hiring you. We have the availability. We need to know when you're going to be available during the year. And then we have a couple of places for you to put examples of the kinds of programs you've done in the last year. So this gets sent in. Basically, most people send it in as an email application at this point, and we're going to try to set it up so that maybe we can have an online application. I would like to maybe do that again. But this comes into the office, and we have a panel review. The panel review selects new artists that are to be added to the roster. And so I would take new artists and we would create a profile that will be added to the roster. The schedule for the roster, basically we will update it every March, and we start having a new roster online the 1st of April, so we can start taking presenters requests to hire artists. We pay on a fiscal cycle, so money that's going to be going to the people that working with the artists is available. Yes. It goes from July through the end of June, and so that's the cycle that we're working with. So we're trying to set it up so that people can start requesting in April for events that would be scheduled July 1st or after. I'm telling the artists this because it's good for you to be able to tell people who want to book you how the system works here. And so once you're added to the roster, then we create a profile for you, and people can look for your profile within the roster that's online. This is all connected to the Arts on Tour tab that was over there. I'll show you an example of the sort of profile. This is for Amy Eichler. And this is if we have visual artists, we can take performers as well as visual artists. If you're a visual artist, we need to know what you need to do for a gallery setting, particularly the sort of prices. I actually might like a little more specific dollar amount instead of Amy's was a little bit general here. But I think it would be good to say what it would cost to hire you to do an exhibition and the kinds of things that we would need and this sort of thing. So basically what happens is that the people who would be running galleries or hiring artists for performances would contact the artist, and that would be listed in the roster, somebody that would be interested in having a contract with, and they would negotiate with them for an event price and that sort of stuff. And then if they would turn around, because they have a contract with the artist, the presenter would actually then go to the grants section over here and go to the section for Arts on Tour grants. Because what happens is that for the Arts on Tour grant, as I will put on here, we will pay a presenter, reimburse 40% of the contract for the presenter for hiring an Arts on Tour artist. So that's a really good deal. Artists can use the roster as a tool to go out and say, you want to hire me for this festival because you'll get 40% of the money back, and the Arts Council will pay you back. Matt can talk about that if you want. He's done this, I think. But basically what we do is we have it set up so that the forms that the presenter would use to request the money, we have two sets of forms. The application is ongoing during the year, but we have a Form A and a Form B, so we can divide the requests into sort of 6-month groups here. And so to get this, it says apply now if you're interested in doing this. This is going to take you to our grants portal. Now I'm going to talk to you about this, but everybody is using the grants portal for the different grants that we're going to be working with. You have, if you don't have an account with us, this is the logo, by the way, if you don't go through the website. If you have to create a new account, you will provide basic information about yourself along with your email address and a password that you create. And this will take you into your own individual dashboard. Now, this is the one for South Arkansas Arts Center. It'll look like this once you get in there. And so say Laura wants to apply for another grant, say an Arts on Tour grant. She's going to need to go up here to the apply part and click on that on her page. And this will take her to a new page that says apply. You'll see over here, it's got various access codes. The one for the Arts Council is AAC. And so that goes up here as I'm pointing with my big arrow. The page is not, once you hit enter on your tab, it's not going to change, but what happens, the forms will appear below. And so you will be able to see things like this. And so here's the one that we're currently using for Arts on Tour if you're planning on having an event scheduled July through December, the upcoming year. And so this tells you more about it. You need to have a contract with the artists that spells out how much they're charging you and what they're needing you to do as a presenter. Then they would send it in to us at least 2 weeks before the event happens, so we can set this all up ahead of time. Once you have the event, the artist gets paid all the money from the contract, and then the presenter will show us how much they paid you, and we will pay them back 40%. So that's the way the process works. And I'll show you briefly what the application looks like. From the presenter, we're needing a description of what the event's going to be. If it's a fundraising event, we need to know how the public will be able to see the artist, the general public. It can't be a closed event. We need a copy of the signed contract with the artist that's attached here. We have to have the IRS EIN number on file in our system to be able to pay you. We calculate the price of the 40% reimbursement and the amount you're requesting, and then there's a signature spot. So going back to the grants page, there's another one called the collaborative project support that can involve a lot of artists. This is typically a grant that an organization would apply for, but it's set up so that they can use money to contract artists or agencies to do the project for them. So I'm thinking it would be really interesting, and we've had this happen in the past, that an artist could even approach an organization and say, I would like to work with you on something. And let's see if we can work up a collaborative project so that you can apply for money to work with me for something. The program itself will pay up to $10,000 for contracted costs. There's a one-to-one cash match that they have to provide, but I think it's pretty accessible in terms of getting money to work with someone. It's called collaborative project support because we want to have at least two organizations working together to do some sort of project that has an outreach component in the community. One will be the lead applicant and the other will be working with them to do this project. So I'll show you an example of one that we just funded. The Delta Arts Festival, which is in Newport. It's growing year by year. It's getting bigger and bigger. It started out really as a visual arts festival, but 2 years ago, they decided they wanted us to start expanding it, adding literary aspects and music and film. And so they came to us last year to get some money for this. And they're coming back this year for the second time. It's the Downtown Revitalization and Improvement Volunteer Effort. They're requesting $10,000, and they're wanting to use this to help rent new facilities and incorporate literature programs, music, and film. And so this is, to me, it's the sort of thing that artists who are out there who wanted to be involved with the festival said, come on, let's see if we can expand this and we can work us into this program. And you can get some money from the Arts Council to help you as a presenter do that. So this is sort of like the reverse thinking on how this works, but I've seen it happen several times, and I think artists could really be strong influencers to get something like this happening. So I'm going to go back to the grants page.
Hey, Jess, before you leave the collaborative grant, do you think if artists found a way to partner for like a literary fest, would that fit into that, or is it needing to be more like a Drain Smart program type thing? Like, how should they think about their programs?
I think it could be any sort of what you're wanting to have the artists.
If the artists were going to make the lead, like I know what we funded before has been stuff like, I know Drain Smart was a funded one. And that was a collaboration between the Audubon Society and another arts organization that's not birds.
Yep. Well, the lead applicant has to be a 501c3 organization. So if there's an artist group that wants to work with them, I think maybe it doesn't necessarily have to be a nonprofit that's the collaborator, but the lead applicant has to be a 501c3. So
yeah, but before we talk about the application part, when we're talking about just the development, the process of developing that project, that idea, would things like a festival, actually, like a literary fest, would that be something that would be funded through the collaborative project, or would it be something more concrete, like a mural project or the Drain Smart program? They do one every year. I guess that's kind of what what other kinds of programs
we've
have
actually
been
funded both of those kinds of things.
Okay.
We funded murals, we funded public art, and we've actually built a workshop presentation program around an artist doing a public art piece. It was a library that did that. And so we created a project that we funded sort of in collaboration with the artist creating the piece. We've done that. We've worked with the literary festival. We fund, like, I think because it's sort of limited amount of money, essentially, if you can single out something within the larger context of the festival that we can help fund. So we can say that this particular set of speakers or program within that was funded in part by the Arkansas Arts Council within the larger context.
Okay,
does that answer your question, Scarlett?
It does. That's really cool. We do have another question. Does the organization, the nonprofit organization that takes lead for the applying part, does that have to be Arkansas based, or is it just artist based?
No, the lead applicant has to be Arkansas based.
Okay.
But it doesn't have to be an arts organization. It can be anyone who wants to do some sort of arts outreach project. The project itself has to be an arts project, but the lead applicant doesn't have to be. Cities have often done this. They've worked with groups in the community, and they've been the lead applicant for. Eureka Springs has done this quite a bit. Other things? Other questions?
I don't see any other questions. Do you mind if I drop your contact information into the chat?
Oh yeah, that's fine. And I'll have them at the end again. You can see them for all of us. But I came back to the grants here because I was going to let Matt sort of take over at this point and talk about his things. And I will try to change the pictures as he's talking.
Oh, wait, before you leave, Jess, did we talk about the GOS grants, what that is?
That's not going to be something that the artists are going to be working with. I mean,
we have some nonprofits here, though.
If we have some nonprofits here, I'll come tell you a little bit about it. The general operating support is set up specifically for arts organizations with budgets of at least $50,000 and at least a part-time executive director that's contracted. The program itself gives money for operational expenses. I mean, it gives you a cushion as an arts organization to be able to use your own money to do other programming and sort of more creative kind of things with your own money. So I think it's actually a very helpful grant to have for arts organizations. And at this point, we have probably about 55 organizations around the state that get money from us to help pay salaries and utilities and things like that. So if you're interested in that, certainly talk to me about that. But it's limited who can apply for it. It has to be a specific arts organization that has a budget of that size. Anything else?
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Of course.
Okay, you want me to sort of take over here for a second, Jess? Is that right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Well, introduce yourself too, please. Thank you.
Again, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi,
Yeah.
I'm Boyce. I'm the new Arkansas Arts Council Arts and Education Program manager. Like Scarlett said before, if you want to hear, I'm kind of new to this, but I think I could be very beneficial, especially to this this group here, because I am an artist and I did start a nonprofit from the ground up here in Arkansas in 2013. So I've kind of learned as I went, and didn't realize that services like this that Scarlett's offering were even a thing. So hopefully I can be a little bit of a help to all of you. I want to focus on, because I think this is going to be the most beneficial thing for everybody, is within the arts and education programs, we have 4 grants, well, 5 grants actually, but 2 that are probably going to be the most accessible to you as artists. The 3 major grants are the in-school residency, and I'll get into that later. There's also the curriculum project, and then the after-school summer programs. Those are the major grants. But the ones that I want to focus on first are the Arkansas Arts and Education mini grants. The mini grants are one-to-one matching funds for up to $1,000. This has been, from what I've learned in the past 3 months, probably the fastest and easiest way to get an artist in quick to do a program. The only hurdle with that is that all the artists that can qualify to be participating in the mini grant is that they have to be put on the arts and education roster. So what that is the arts and education roster. I don't know if that's the next slide or not, Jess. I'm trying to follow along. Yes, there it is. So this roster is your go-to for all of the organizations that want to apply for not only the major grants but the mini grants. This is kind of like their portal and their hub of artists in Arkansas. There's about 150 total artists on there, from painting, drawing, sculpting, puppets, you name it. It's on there, and there is a keyword search that you see in the top left. I've had people ask me like, "Hey, I want to have a jazz musician come teach my elementary school." I say, just type in the word jazz and some people will come up, etc. This is how you as an artist can get your face out there in the eyes of educators. Especially from experience, I had a tap dancing nonprofit, and people who search dance would go there and find my organization and then contact me and say, "Hey, I'd like to bring you in for a workshop for 2 hours," and that's how we connected. So the process to apply for this is the next review panel is going to be in July. We haven't posted the deadline dates yet. Like I said, this is only my 3rd month here. So I'm just kind of learning the ropes, but I plan to have a review panel in July. So if you are an artist and want to get into education, this is probably your best start. What they'll do is they'll ask for materials. If you are a dancer, they'll ask for videos, photography, things like that. And then there'll be a whole application, which we don't need to get into. It's all in the same place where Jess pointed out to before with the other grants. All of that application's on that same interface. So what this does is this gets you, once you're approved, from October to August, September is our only month that we don't do mini grants, this allows people to search for you and hire you in for residencies or one-offs. And then big picture, if you do connect with an organization, which this is used a lot by a lot of the organizations that I've experienced, at least so far, is they find people through a mini grant and they like them. And then when they apply for the major grants, like the in-school residencies, which could last an entire year, they then turn around and hire them. So here you have a general profile of one of our artists, Jermaine McClure. It's a pretty standard bio background, just about the artist, a couple references and things like that. They're just, it's not like you're throwing every single bullet point there or have any, anything crazy on there. But it just gives an idea of just, kind of flash, hey, this is me, this is what I can do, here's my contact info. And it's good. You don't have to go through, once you get to there, you don't have to go through like another system. You're going to get their direct emails, you're going to get their direct phone numbers. And most of the artists that I've dealt with so far are very receptive, and they're easy to contact. And like I said before in the previous page, if you are looking for a poet or something like that, and all you have to type in is poetry or poet, and then your profile will pop up, because when you apply, you list what your specialties are. Say it's music and composition and writing, all that will come up. So anyway, so for the mini grants, this is wait, did you go back, Jess, or go forward? Sorry, I'm trying to follow along with your slide.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Let me see what's next. I was really sort of doing this to say, if you to go to the grants now, you're going to talk about the. So
yeah. Okay, so the next one is okay. So
the mini grants there's a link for things down here.
Right.
I don't think I have a breakdown of that one. But
yeah, so this is the same page from before. So this, like I said, this lists all the 5 arts and education grants. I will say for the the mini grants and then the lifelong learning mini grants, just being on the other side of the Arts Council, kind of in your position, especially because almost all of the work that I did was school-based. A lot of educators that were kind of reaching out to us like word of mouth at first, didn't know about these mini grants until somebody told me about them. And they're like, hey, I'm in an underserved area and we'd love to bring you in, and I would tell them, okay, this, costs whatever, say $200. They say we don't have that. And I would turn around and say, okay, well, there is mini grants that you can apply for. So it's not really fair, but unfortunately we have to do a lot of the work for them sometimes and let them know, like, hey, there is help out there. It's very similar to the Arts on Tour thing that Jess was talking about before, because my company had a performing aspect as well. And we could turn around and say, if you think our price is too expensive, well, you can get 40% of it covered. So the lifelong learning mini grants is the one for veterans. If I'm correct, Jess, is that correct? Veterans and adults. Yes. That is the
yes, and seniors and people like that, people beyond the school age.
And it has the same parameters as the mini grants, correct? With the $1,000 one-to-one match. Okay, that's what I thought. Unfortunately,
the veterans grant's a little different, though. It doesn't have the same parameters. There's no deadline, and you don't need a cash. There's no cash match for the veterans mini grant.
Yeah, like I said, guys, I'm still learning too. But I do know that that seems to be the one that's not used as often as the others, which that there's a lot of that we can do as the Arts Council and money to give to those in the lifelong learning grants, and then the veterans one as well. And that's something we're really trying to encourage and have people use that funds. So anyway, so here's the 5 grants listed. Like I said before, the 3 major ones are the ones that organizations apply for. That is the in-school residency that you see on the bottom, then the curriculum project, and then the after-school summer residency. As a artist, like I said before, that is something where you need to kind of make yourself aware, like make yourself, what's the word I'm looking for? Not aware. Approach organizations that are doing something like this and say, hey, this is I'm an artist. I'm on the roster now, and I heard that you're doing a program, and here's my name. I did a observation last week for the Learning Through the Arts, and after several years of doing their programs and mini grants, they have a whole list of about 15 artists that they took from our roster that they now approach to schools and say, we've used these people before. We have an in-school residency coming up. Which one would you like to use? And then the school would pick, and that's who they would use for their programming. So like I said, it's not necessarily kind of fair to get your name out there at first, but it is what I had to do and what you might have to do. So what's the next slide here?
Oh, well, this was, I was trying to, let me see what is here.
You're fine.
Yeah, these are the sort of mini grant things you had been talking about. And all of these, if you click on apply here for all of these, it's going to take you to the grants portal that I just talked about. So this is the same process, works for everything. I broke all of these blue tabs down here so you could see more individually what these were about. Let me see what else it's got here. Oh, I'll just throw this, I'll interrupt you for a minute here. Because this is a little lower on the page there, and it's got sort of the application information, sort of tells you the process. And we will have a new calendar of application deadlines. This is the one from this past year, but I would suspect it's probably going to be very similar this upcoming year. So you can just sort of look and see when these kinds of things have to be in if you're interested in applying as an organization for the major grants here.
Yeah, and like I said before, to get onto the arts and education roster, the next deadline, or no, the next panel is going to be in July. So look out for a deadline soon. Jess and I and our and Brazier, our grants program manager, we're going to discuss what the best date would be for that. This will be my first year doing that. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see all the individual artists that apply. I think the more that we have on there, the better. Makes us look better as a state, and gives some validity to how big our arts community is. So the more of you that apply, the happier that I think I'll be. And you know,
with the mini grants, is it $1,000 cap per program? From what I understood, you could have one program and keep applying. You don't, it's not per artist, right?
Right. So the current parameters are, it is up to $1,000 per application per mini grant. It's a 1-to-1 cash match, and you could do it twice per fiscal year, except for the month of September. It has to do with the federal money that we get for those from the NEA. And there's no money that goes out in September for that. So 11 months out of the year, you can do up to $2,000 basically, but it has to be two separate programs, and it is matching.
And that's actually the same cap for the Arts on Tour for a presenter. We would pay them back up to $2,000 per year per presenter.
We do have another question. Was the July date and APP, what is that, an app? I don't know. Yeah, for membership in the application. Thank you. Sorry.
That's when the arts and education, the registry panel is going to be reviewed. So like I said, I will figure out as soon as possible when I need to get that application out and the deadline, and I'll make sure Scarlett forwards that all to you, because she'll remember better than I will. But no, like I said, I haven't set those dates yet, but that is, you know, with arts and education, we go by the school year. We want to make sure that you guys get on the roster before August 1st. You know, with budgeting and planning out the year, it's the best time to make sure we know who's active, who we're adding, who's dropping out or moved or whatever. So that seems to be the best time of year to do it, from what I'm told. So were there any other questions, Scarlett?
Any other questions, guys? Yeah, got it. That was a lot. I do highly recommend that anybody who's considering getting into a grant to look at the veterans grant, because it doesn't require a match, and it doesn't have any deadlines. And so that might be a great opportunity to really help a vulnerable population that doesn't tend to get a lot of the arts programs that we would like for them to see. So, and I know the NEA is really supportive of bringing the arts to veterans, mental health. So here's the question: give an example of a past veterans program. We have helped fund programs like collage, memoir writing, there were some other, songwriting. So, you know, there was a songwriter musician who went into the Veterans Hospital and had a course on basically treating PTSD with songwriting, or helping to heal mental health through song. We also had a theater one we funded, but you have to remember, like, this was all pre-COVID. We were just piloting that program, just getting it off the ground when COVID hit, and the veteran population is a very vulnerable population when it comes to COVID. So a lot of our programs just stopped happening, and we've had trouble getting it back off the ground. But you'd need to collaborate with, like, the Veterans Hospital. That's a great one, and they're really easy to work with. Or another veterans group, basically, I think it could be any group, but I might have to check with someone on that, but I'm pretty sure, but I know for sure you can use the Veterans Hospital, any of them.
Yeah, I think the veterans are specifically for sort of veteran situations, but it's within the context of the after school, of the lifelong learning grant. So any group that would fall into that category can use that particular grant.
Right, but it would have to be, for that one, it's for veterans.
And that's the reason we sort of like folded that into that particular grant, because
it's under that, and it functions similarly, but it doesn't have the same parameters, and it's ongoing. It has no deadline, so it's not exactly like it.
It's not exactly like it.
No, I'll drop a link to a previous story we were running during that time, which will help. Oh, are there any other questions, guys? Does anyone want to pick that up further? Any tips for when people are thinking about applying? Do you have any tips for them for any of your grants?
Well, I would say the reason I showed the deadlines for the applications these are for the major grants. And if you're wanting to work with an organization to try to be involved with a major grant, like a project or a school residency or something like that, you need to talk to them early so that they can get the applications in really by January. So you're basically talking to the people in the fall for projects that you're wanting to do next year. It's sort of a long time frame here, but they would need to get the things in January so we can have panel reviews in March so that we can fund the money, and then they can start the project the following July.
And one thing I missed about that is like we're about to have our review panel for next year for the major grants. And if you do connect with an organization and you're not on the roster, we do those hand in hand. So if there's a major grant coming up for the in-school residency, like for this next year, and you have a good contact with a school or an organization that you know you'd like to go to, all they need to do is, it's on their end, is you fill out the application as is, and instead of waiting till July, they will submit your artist application alongside their major grant, and then the panel reviews all of that at once. So you obviously need to be approved in order for that grant to go through, but that's not something that that's not on your end, that's the organization's. But the point is that you don't have to wait till July to start talking to people. You, like Jess said, you'd start in the fall and say, hey, I'm not on the roster, but they love what you do, they love your work, they know what great things you can do for their program. Then you would submit the application to them, and they would give all of it to the Arts Council at once. I forgot to say that before.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. That's great. And Matt mentioned not to wait till the last minute. And I really can't say that enough. Please don't wait till the last minute. I know you will. I know you will do it, but please don't.
and we have this sort of long time frame of how things work with the Arts Council, because we're basically funding on a fiscal cycle which goes July through the end of June, and so we have to have everything ready to go during the spring so we can start the funding in the summer. So that means everything gets pushed way back in the fall and January so we can have enough time to get everything ready. So you really have to look at the real big picture if you're working with the grants on this.
And I dropped a link in there to some of the to a previous pre-COVID story that we did about the veterans grants, if anyone wants to check that out.
Right.
And of course, Jess had all of our emails on there, and I've been dropping them in here. If you guys would like to connect with each other, or otherwise you can also chat or ask more questions. We have another question from Sherry. Could our school collaborate with another art school to borrow an artist?
To borrow an artist?
I like the borrowing. I want to borrow an artist.
More than one school can certainly go together and do a collaborative residency, I think, and bring in artists to do things in both of them. I think it just depends on how the project is planned and structured.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for a mini grant as well. Yeah. Yes, you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, we really like partnerships and collaboration. It really strengthens the arts and helps more goes further and it's stronger. So we would like to build a better community. So anything you have with collaboration, we are interested in at least listening and hearing it out. So.
And I think that's a good thing to say, to talk to us about ideas that you have, and we'll help you sort of steer them in the right direction. That's really what we do, is talk to people.
Sherry meant the collaborative grant, that $10,000 grant. Can schools, if two schools collaborate? Sorry, I have a little bit of a speech problem when it comes to schools, but
they could, yes.
okay.
Yeah, and for the in-school residency as well, there's an organization, several organizations that use multiple elementary schools, and the artists kind of rotate around and things like that. So yeah, there's no limitation to that.
I will say that the distinction between the project and the arts and education grant is that the AIE residency is an in-school, it's curriculum-based residency working with the classrooms primarily. The collaborative project support is pretty open to whatever you want to do. It gives you a lot of freedom on structuring something that it could be a school, but you could be creating a whole outside program to work with the school, or like an exhibition or something like that. UCA often uses this to do special artists in residency things coming in, but it's not an AIE grant. It's a collaboration bringing in an artist to do a residency with the public.
Okay, Sherry was like, for example, a potter or textile artist. Yeah, I don't think the genre of artist matters. It's
No.
the collaborative. Well, it covers all genres, correct?
It just has to be an arts project with an outreach component, and
Mhm.
we do all kinds of things. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions before I head on into fellowships? Woohoo! Y'all so quiet. It's in the day. Okay. I'm gonna go on then. Share my screen. How do I share my screen? Okay, so if you go back to the website, let's see. This one. Share. Sorry, there. So when you go to the website, if you click on the individual artist fellowship grants, you will find different categories. So we've really expanded this program. The individual artist fellowship awards it's been doubled. So we had 3 categories for at least 10, 20 years. And now we're having doubled that, and we'll have 6 categories. So we've also been able to lower the age. It was 25. So here's your general criteria. And now we've lowered it down here. So these are the general criteria for all of it. And then we go into different categories. We have multi-sensory art, and that just requires you to show 2 different senses. So it's an accessibility kind of art, and it can be anything from actual filmmaking video to something that's created out of sculpture that has a texture to it meant for accessibility for, say, the blind. So whisper tables, anything like that, infinity rooms, all of that has a multiple sense to it. Even if you did a project that was based around poetry and you had poetry going on at the time, and combines 2 or 3 different elements that could create sense. I guess I'm kind of thinking of that wallpaper with like Willy Wonka. Didn't he lick it a lot or something? That would be, I mean, I'm not going to lick your art, but if I did, that would be multi-sensory. Sure would. Or those scratch and sniff stickers. Anyway, okay, so community engagement art, that's more of a piece element. We're asking you to create art that creates dialogue or somehow engages the community. It's a little bit like the collaborative one, but we hope that you will bring something that has an output that creates a community dialogue, a listening session, a facts history, builds some sort of creative space that brings engagement to the community. And so that whole thing is set up through here. And it doesn't have a genre attached to it, but we hope that you can expand on that. We also have contemporary craft, and this will be a rotating usually we change the categories a little bit every year. So this year it's contemporary craft with a fiber component. It doesn't have to be fiber forward, but it definitely needs to have some sort of element that incorporates fiber into the contemporary craft in some way. And contemporary craft is, it's basically the utilization of a historic process or a heritage sort of piece. So think of pottery, but taking away the functionality. So you don't actually have to be able to function with the piece. So that can be like using traditional crafting, sewing to create a quilt, but making the quilt into a contemporary modern art piece. I think that's something that's been happening nationally. There was, even in Arkansas, there was, some using some components that will create something new from something old. So that's the contemporary part of contemporary craft. And it's a pretty wide genre. And again, it doesn't have to be fiber only or fiber centric. It just has to incorporate something about fiber. So we also have the traditional categories, and that is Mississippi Delta Blues, contemporary songwriting. And then the visual arts component is graphic novel or storytelling narrative. So that can be done in painting, it can be done in mixed media. The only real criteria with that is that we're trying to get the visual artist to tell some sort of story using his or her or their artwork. So there's that. And then flash fiction and creative nonfiction is 500 to 1,000 words. So we're looking for concise stories that have either a literary nonfiction component using the fiction elements to create a nonfiction story, or vice versa. So that one's pretty open. It's been fairly well received, and flash fiction is a growing genre across the nation right now. These awards have been increased because of our partnership with Wingate. So it's 5,000 each, and you don't have to use the money for anything. I guess I haven't done my chat. Yes, Loria. Sorry. Where's my chat box? You want to just talk? Make me find my chat box. I put it somewhere.
I'm trying to find the chat box as well. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hi. You guys are so funny today.
Oh no, I'm like this every day.
Yes.
That's okay.
Yes.
Hi, Matt. Welcome.
Hi, Loria.
Yeah, great joining us. So, hey, I'm a long time AIE and residency artist, and on and on and on. But anyway, I wanted to ask on the fellowship, can you apply for multiple fellowships, or is it just the one?
Yeah, you have to pick one category and pick one. Just go for it. Go all in. Like, I am that. Own it. Yeah.
I'm all for it. I'm ready.
Yeah, me too.
Hey, Scarlett, can you only be awarded one fellowship once, or how does that work? Is that
yeah, and then after that we have to kill you. No, I'm kidding. But yes. Not the death part, the other. You can only get it one time. I got it one time. You got it one time.
I did. I won in 2019.
I know. I took your picture. That was great. I was like,
for dance choreography. And then
yeah.
when did you get yours? What was it for?
Creative nonfiction writing.
In 2010?
Yeah, I'm old. Okay. Yeah. That was a good question though. I have gotten that before. I would like to be able to expand further, but right now this is a pilot program, so we're hoping that it will work. We have 3 years of funding for the expanded project as it is. And and also, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and we're recording this. I'll send you guys a link when it's all done so you can review. So I know some of the people have to head out, but
Scarlett, those categories are still open for this week, aren't they?
Yes, these categories are open, and we're accepting applications through the 16th. So please apply, and yeah, I'll try to help you as best I can. It's going to still require something like an artist statement and bio for everything. Really, if you have not thought about an artist statement or bio, even if you don't apply for these grants and want to apply for some other person's grants, they will require something like that. So you should think about developing one. We'll probably have another workshop on that in the fall, if that's something you're interested in. Or if you want to sign up for our free Artist Ink Express workshops, those are underway now, and they do cover things like artist statements and grant writing and applying for things and creating new funnels for your art. So if that's something that you're interested in, we have one coming up next month through June. So May and June are our last ones, and then they'll probably come back in the next year. Anyway, we also I have one other grant I really kind of want to talk about. How do we sign up for the grant? So go to the website, which I was just there, and there's a banner thing and you can read about it. And then you can also click and go to the grant portal. So again, we take all of our grants through the grant portal. And so you would just make your account using the password AAC. I can just type that in here. So you put in your email, you put in the AAC password, then you create your logon, and then you choose your category. And then it will walk you through the process. It'll ask you, your name, and it'll ask for images. If you're doing the Delta Blues songwriting, I have to mention that because our grant portal, I just don't have the memory to upload a bunch of video or MP3, MP4. So we've allowed you to put things like links to something you might be holding in a cloud, Google Drive, Dropbox, that kind of thing. So you can share that information. So if you have any problems, you can always email me. Also, I just really want to touch on that we have the Sally Williams grants, and those will pay half of up to $500 for any sort of career development workshop / conference that you might want to attend. So we've had poets attend writing conferences. We've had artists attend different like painting, or what's that one with the wax? That one was coming up. Sorry, there was wax involved. Yeah. Anyway, it can be anything. There was wax.
Encaustic.
Thank you. It was encaustic.
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
Scarlett, I need to point out that we have 2 grants portals. So be sure that you go to the right one.
You can find that though if you go to the
If you
website with
follow
all the
the link,
grants.
It says
And then
apply
you'll-
here. It'll take you to the right one.
It has the tab, and then it says apply to the fellowships. Click on that button, and then it'll take you to a magical realm of grant portals. Oh, we have new messages. So the registry, this is the question. So if we are on the registry, do we have to create a new bio? So the artist registry is in no way connected to any grants that we offer. It's just simply not connected to any grants that we have. And so if you are looking to apply for any of the grants, then you will need to go through the grant portal. Absolutely. Now, I'm saying that, but if you aren't on the artist registry, you should definitely think about applying for it, or just sitting in your information, because it allows you to submit artwork for the Small Works on Paper touring exhibit that we do. And that's going to open up in May. However, that's technically not a grant. Just saying.
That's a program.
It is a program. Okay, so how to apply for, or how to sign up for on upcoming courses. You can find all of our upcoming workshops on our website, or you can go to our Facebook page and look at the events section. We have them all listed there. You'll be registering through Eventbrite. They're all free, but registration is required. Most of them, I would say about 99% of them, are going to be virtual, at least through until this fall. And then I'm thinking about trying to do some hybridization. And if you have any problems signing up, you can always email us. So, okay, does anybody have any questions? I feel like I've lost most of my peeps. Beep, beep. Y'all so quiet.
There's a lot of information that this recording might be good to refer back to, especially.
Yeah, but we need one of those like voice things that change it. And make it a little creepy. You need a grant.
Veronica said just soaking it all in. Yeah, it's I'm still learning too as well.
Yeah, Veronica's great, but she uses our grants. So, oh, look, it's Patrick. Would you like to speak, Director?
It's just everybody's getting a chance to hear exactly what we hear every day from you, Scarlett. So anyway, I'm glad that we had so many people turn out today, and it's a good program. I've enjoyed listening to it. And you've done quite well. Thank you, Scarlett.
Yeah.
And Matt and Jess.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Jess, thank you so much. And if you guys have any questions, please let us know. I'll upload this video and I'll send it through the magic of the internet. I don't actually understand how any of it works, so I don't. It's like the email, but I will email it to you along with something else that Matt told me to email that I've already forgotten. You said I'd remember.
The deadline for the arts and education roster.
I'm gonna write that down. Thank you.
And if anyone has any questions on that, just email me and I can walk you through that, or you can call the office. I'll walk you through that. It's very simple.
And if you're interested in applying for the Arts on Tour roster, there will be a new application up there probably in May.
Oh,
We can
cool. Okay.
Talk more about that. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Well, anything else that we need to hit on? Anybody have any other questions? Thank you all for coming. Some of you guys have come back repeatedly. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
They're a fan. Lori's a fan.
I know. Okay. If nobody has anything else, I guess I will let my coworkers go. Thank you guys for coming.
Thanks for hosting.
Thank you.
Okay. Y'all have a good night.
Okay.
Bye.